Hello everyone, I am Seema Parashar and welcome to my YouTube channel Easy Learning with Seema Ma'am. So in this video, we will study class 10th portion transportation or circulation from the chapter life processes. Now, what is transportation? In living organisms, transportation refers to the movement of essential substances like nutrients, oxygen and waste products throughout the body. Now, transportation in human beings. So there is an activity in NCRT book, that is, visit a health center in your locality and find out what is the normal range of hemoglobin contained in human beings. Is it the same for children and adults? Is there any difference in the hemoglobin levels for men and women? So you can see the range of hemoglobin content in men 14.0 to 18.0 gram per deciliter, in women 12.0 to 16.0 gram per deciliter, in children 11.0 to 15.0 gram per deciliter. Now, visit a veterinary clinic in your locality. Find out what is the normal range of hemoglobin content in an animal like the buffalo or cow. Is this content different in calves, male and female animals? Yes. So now again you are seeing in buffaloes it is 12.5 to 14.5 gram per deciliter. In cows it is 10.4 to 15.4 gram per deciliter. In calves it is 6.5 to 13.5 gram per deciliter. So you can say that this content is different in calf, male and female animals. Now compare the difference seen in male and female human beings and animals. So there is a slight difference between male and female animals, and in humans the content of hemoglobin is higher in males than females, but in animals it is higher in females than males. Now, we know hemoglobin is an iron containing pigment which is found in RBC. So, to understand it, we will study circulatory system. And human circulatory system, also called the blood vascular system, consists of a muscular chambered heart, a network of closed branching blood vessels and blood, the fluid which is circulated. We have read that blood transports food, oxygen, and waste materials in our body. In class 9th, we learned about blood being a fluid containing tissue. Blood consists of a fluid medium called plasma, in which the cells are suspended. Plasma transports food, carbon dioxide, and nitrogenous wastes in our dissolved form. Oxygen is carried by the red blood corpuscles. Many other substances like salts are also transported by the blood. We thus need a pumping organ to push blood around the body, a network of tubes to reach all the tissues, and a system in place to ensure that this network can be repaired. So our pump is our heart. The heart is a muscular organ which is as big as our fist. It is situated in the thoracic cavity in between the two lungs, slightly tilted to the left and protected by a double-walled membranous bag, that is pericardium. It has four chambers, two relatively small upper chambers called atria, single is atrium, and two larger lower chambers called ventricles. A thin muscular wall called the interatrial septum separates the right and the left atria, whereas a thick wall, the interventricular septum, separates the left and the right ventricles. The atrium and the ventricle of the same side are also separated by a thick fibrous tissue called the atrioventricular septum. The opening between the right atrium in the right ventricle is guarded by a valve. The valves in the heart allows the flow of blood only by a fixed route or in one direction, that is from the atria to the ventricles and from the ventricles to the pulmonary artery or aorta. These valves prevent any backward flow. Now, the entire heart is made of cardiac muscles. The walls of ventricles are much thicker than that of atria. Okay, now because both oxygen and carbon dioxide have to be transported by the blood, the heart has four different chambers that we have already read to prevent the oxygen-rich blood from mixing with the blood containing carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide rich blood, that is deoxygenated blood, has to reach the lungs for removing carbon dioxide, and the oxygenated blood from the lungs has to be brought back to the heart. This oxygen rich blood is then pumped to the rest of the body. We can follow this process step by step. Oxygen rich blood from the lungs comes to the thin walled upper chamber of the heart on the left, that is the left atrium. The left atrium relaxes when it is collecting this blood. It then contracts while the next chamber, that is the left ventricle, relaxes so that the blood is transferred to it. Now, when the muscular left ventricular contracts in its turn, the blood is pumped out to the body. Deoxygenated blood comes from the body to the upper chamber on the right, that is right atrium. As it relaxes, as the right atrium contracts, the corresponding lower chamber, the right ventricle, dilates. This transfers blood to the right ventricle, which in turn pumps it to the lungs for oxygenation. Now, since ventricles have to pump blood into various organs, so they have thicker muscular walls than the atria do. Clear? Now, walls ensure that blood does not flow backward when the atria or ventricles contract. And now, oxygen enters the blood in the lungs. The separation of the right side and the left side of the heart is useful to keep oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. Clear? So, such separation allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body. This is useful in animals that have high energy needs, such as birds and mammals, which constantly use energy to maintain their body temperature. In animals that do not use energy for this purpose, the body temperature depends on the temperature in the environment. Such animals like amphibians or many reptiles have three-chambered hearts and tolerate some mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood streams. Fishes, on the other hand, have only two chambers to their hearts, and the blood is pumped to the gills, is oxygenated there, and passes directly to the rest of the body. Thus, blood goes only once through the heart in the fish during one cycle of passage through the body. On the other hand, it goes through the heart twice during each cycle in other vertebrates. This is known as double circulation. Now, what is blood pressure and how can you measure the blood pressure? The force that blood exerts against the wall of a vessel is called blood pressure. This pressure is much greater in arteries than in veins. The pressure of blood inside the artery during ventricular systole contraction is called systolic pressure, and the pressure in artery during ventricular diastole relaxation is called diastolic pressure. The normal systolic pressure is about 120 millimeter of Hg, that is mercury, and diastolic pressure is 80 millimeter of Hg. Blood pressure is measured with an instrument called sphygmomanometer. High blood pressure is also called hypertension and is caused by the constriction of arterioles, which results in increased resistance to blood flow. It can lead to the rupture of an artery and internal bleeding. Now, the tubes, blood vessels. Arteries are the vessels which carry blood away from the heart to various organs of the body. Since the blood emerges from the heart under high pressure, the arteries have thick elastic walls. Veins collect the blood from different organs and bring it back to the heart. They do not need thick walls because the blood is no longer under pressure. Instead, they have walls that ensure that the blood flows only in one direction. Arteries carry oxygenated blood, that is pure blood, while veins carry deoxygenated blood, that is impure. On reaching an organ or tissue, the artery divides into smaller and smaller vessels. Then maintenance by platelets. What happens if the system of tubes develops a leak? Think about situations when we are injured and start bleeding. Naturally, the loss of blood from the system has to be minimized. In addition, leakage would lead to a loss of pressure. which would reduce the efficiency of the body or pumping system. To avoid this, the blood has platelets which circulate around the body and plug these leaks by helping to clot the blood at these points of energy. And this is called as blood clotting. Clear? Now, lymph. There is another type of fluid which also involved in transportation. This is called lymph or tissue fluid. Through the pores present in the walls of capillaries, some amount of plasma, proteins, and blood cells escape into intercellular spaces in the tissues to form the tissue fluid or lymph. It is similar to the plasma of blood but colorless and contains less protein. Lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries from the intercellular spaces, which join to form large lymph vessels that finally open into larger veins. Lymph carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine and drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into the blood. So this is all about the chapter transportation or circulation in human beings. In short, in human beings, the transport of materials such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, food, and excretory products is a function of the circulatory system. It consists of the heart, blood, and blood vessels. So, if you like this video and you are able to understand the topic, subscribe and share my channel Easy Learning with Seema Ma'am. And in next video, I will tell you about transportation in plants. So, okay, bye.